Good evening, it's 7:30, and I herewith call the City of Gaithersburg's Historic District Commission meeting, August 23rd, 2017, to order. And let me give time for everybody to get seated, so let me start with the roll call on my right. Chris, may I start with you,
Chris
please?
Berger. Robert Love.
Dean Ventola.
John Roddy.
Chris Kurtz.
Mary Jo LaFrance.
Mark Feinstein.
Gregory Mann.
Frank Johnson.
Well, we have a quorum. I'm going to read now the protocols under which this meeting and all our meetings are conducted. This commission is empowered to meet and act under Article 12 of the City Code of Gaithersburg. The technical qualifications of the staff of this commission and the members of this commission are on file with the City of Gaithersburg and are available on request to any applicant and are hereby made a part of the legal record of each and every application heard today. Each application heard this evening is considered on its own merits and is not to be considered as establishing a precedent for any other application. Our first item of business is the approval of the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes of the July 26th meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, any concerns, issues, suggested edits?
Not for me.
Okay, the chair is open to.
I move their approval.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, then the vote count is 6-0. All right, our first order of substantive business is 10 Brooks Avenue, where we are replacing garage doors. Chris, have you a presentation?
Yes, I do. The subject property is a two-story craftsman style house that was constructed circa 1923. 10 Brooks is zoned RB, residential buffer, and is contributing to the Brooks, Russell, and Walker Historic District. The Historic Area Work Permit comes before the HDC in accordance with Section 24-227A of the City Code. This is how the detached garage appears from the street. The applicant seeks approval for replacement of the wood swing garage doors with metal overhead doors. He seeks to improve ease of vehicular access into the garage, which is about 100 feet from Brooks Avenue. The offices for a business are located inside the main building, and the applicant would like to park vehicles inside the garage more quickly. Each garage bay currently includes a total of 3 doors, 2 paired swing doors toward the middle and a third door to either side. Each wood door has 2 panels and 4 lights at the top. The applicant seeks to replace the wood doors in each bay with a single overhead metal door measuring 8 by 8 feet that gives the appearance of a swing door. Each proposed door will feature 8 panels and 10 lights at the top. Decorative features will include metal hinges and handles, and this is a representative example of what the applicant seeks to install. The Historic District guidelines for the Brooks, Russell, and Walker Historic District apply. The guidelines state on page 32 in regard to materials, if a material is developed in the future that can provide an appearance that it is historic, it may be used on a case-by-case basis. The guidelines state on page 40 that historic garage materials differ from the main house and should be preserved. If a garage was originally constructed of a different material than it is made of now, it should be restored to its original material in shape and texture whenever possible. The applicant, Mr. Stanley Gittleson, is here if you have any questions. If you please come to the podium and state your name.
Mr. Biddlesome, welcome. Before I do, may I check to make sure there are no conflicts from does anybody have any?
No.
Okay, fine. Welcome, sir.
Good evening. Stanley Gittleson, resident, 10 Brooks Avenue.
Yep. Thank you. You need say no more. It speaks for itself, and you're welcome to if you like.
If you have anything else to add.
Just my name.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Name, rank, and serial number. All right, we'll try and get you out of this alive. Mark, can I start with you?
Yeah, I actually had a question about the existing doors. looking at the photos close up, they look to be in working condition. I was curious as to why, other than ease of access, is there any functional reason why they need to be replaced?
Actually, they are not in working condition. They have been neglected. And I acquired the house May 12th of this year. And they are, for the most part, dilapidated. I don't know if you can tell from the
Can't
picture,
really
but
tell from the pictures, yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you went on site, you would see.
I can add that I did, for this photo, I got up close to them, and you can see there are large cracks in the panels, and they are pretty well worn.
I mean, have you looked into being able to repair the existing doors?
The repair cost matches the replacement cost of what I'm asking for.
Okay, I don't have any other questions.
Okay, Joe?
And similar questions. I was wondering if it was possible if not only you could repair them, but modify them in such a way where you could still reuse them, but also gain the space you're looking for. And you say you have.
Yes, ma'am. I have thought of that, and it is not doable.
Yeah. And you are also going to be losing your man doors.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
John?
I have nothing further.
Dean?
I have no questions, but I'll be part of the discussion.
Okay. Well, my only thought is, and we can discuss it, but I would want to make sure, and I would assume you have no objection. I have been known to collect all kinds of things for the use of anybody either at Gaithersburg or Washington Grove. So even though they need work, I would hate to see them just go in the dumpster. So you wouldn't have any opposition if I was able to, arrange to have them, picked up and taken away for possible reuse?
Oh, no, I'm new to Gaithersburg. I intend to be here, and if I can contribute in any way, that's fine.
Well, there's an old saying, one man's junk is another's treasure. For some of us with old houses, just, even a hinge or a handle or something might save the day.
Not a problem. I brought my business here, and I intend to stay.
Great. Thank you very much, sir. All right, let's start with the discussion. Dean, I take it there's something to discuss.
Well, sure, but would you like to go first since you're the first one in line?
We have a full
He's the
quorum, so we
alternate.
have all tonight.
Oh, I apologize to you, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Welcome, sorry.
Make him feel terrible.
My thoughts are, we as a commission have a mandate to save details like this. These doors are unique, they're extraordinary, the detailing is magnificent. I don't see yet any photos showing that they're dilapidated. The couple of photos that are there showing that they need some work appears to need some sand, some wood filler, and paint. But these doors are amazing to me. I believe this is the type of stuff that this commission is empowered, put in place to maintain. So I can't see myself voting to remove those doors, particularly to replace them with what appears to be as aluminum doors. There's just got to be a different way. If the voting with my colleagues goes towards replacing, then I would recommend strongly replace them with carriage doors that appear to be similar to this, but do in fact roll up, because that's the applicant's biggest concern, is he has to get out of the car, open the doors, then pull the car in. I understand the convenience, but I also understand the value of the historic details that are here. I would hate to lose it.
Okay, so John?
I would note that I see in the picture exhibit that there are metal plates at all of the joints on that door on the right. So it has been attempted, a repair in the past, and one doesn't do that unless it's substantial. Like Dean, I would like to see them repaired if they possibly could, rather than replaced. Because that would maintain what is there now, and I assume what has been original.
Can you point out the plates you're referring to? Those, I think, are hinges.
No, I don't think so, because
Well,
they're
they
not
do.
over here.
No, and they're reinforced up above as
Well,
well.
I'm saying, there has to be hinges on the back, because I believe this is a man door.
Right.
Obviously, it's got hinges that are concealed, but this
Right.
guy, that's a folding door.
Well, it has hinges that are concealed. And I think these are supporting the hinges, and you'll notice they're at different elevations on the door. And these are much smaller over here. And those don't match that, and there's nothing there, of course. But I think the joints have come apart in the past, and somebody has spent some time trying to repair it.
I won't argue that it does need repair, wood needs repair, but I don't see these doors in these photos not functioning. These appear to be functioning.
Basically, I agree with you, but I'd
Okay.
like to see it repaired if it could be repaired. If it can't be repaired, that's a different question altogether.
Okay.
Mary Jo?
And I agree with Dean. As a matter of fact, the reason why I brought up modifying to the applicant was I was hoping that maybe there was a way that a remote access could be installed so that they would in fact open and close, which would solve that one problem. But also, just based on the evidence that's before us in the photographs, I don't see anything here that cannot be repaired. So I prefer that the doors remain, because it is definitely an architectural character of that building and the house and the neighborhood. And it is seen from the street.
Mark?
Yeah, if someone were to come to us with wood windows of this vintage and a contributing resource, like this garage is a contributing resource to the historic district, I don't think there'd be any way we could say that it could be replaced with an aluminum window or a vinyl window, and that's kind of what is being asked here. And therefore, I concur with the rest of the commissioners.
Well, I bat last, as is my wont, and I feel quite differently. I mean, on the one hand, I agree with everything that's been said, with the exception of looking at something in a photograph may give a very different impression of what the reality is in terms of repair, the cost and the time and so forth, number one. Number two, if they were repaired, it's not gonna have the convenience of up and down. Number two, this is an accessory building. It's 100 feet from the road. And number three, I don't know what you mean by carriage doors, Dean, but I thought the replacement doors were not unattractive. I might augur for suggesting that the paint color match that of the trim on the rest of the house to give some congruency. So my thought would have been to approve the staff recommendation and only adding, if the applicant was willing, that we could recycle those doors, because I can definitely see those being reused. But that said, there's, four of you, one of me, and we do operate on a democratic vote basis. So the chair, we've all stated our piece. Is there any more discussion, or does somebody want to propose a motion?
I mean, I think with what you were saying, with it being an accessory building, the guidelines still talk specifically about the accessory garages and how the materials should be preserved in those garages if they're historic. And this is pretty much a case where that is a fact here. So.
Well, were I a benevolent despot, we would just send the applicant on his way. This being a democracy, commissioners, we've heard your pleasure, and I suspect you ruled the day, so does somebody have a motion to propose?
I would recommend, I think, if the commission is leaning towards denial, maybe to defer the application back to staff, and then return with a resolution of denial for your motion. With that said, I think staff would like to have some discussion on the findings for denial, so that we can draft that resolution for you.
Well, along those lines, none of us have been there. Would it be possible, Chris? I mean, you know, I don't want to do something that imposes a burden on staff that you can't meet, but if you haven't already, would it be possible to go through with the applicant and actually examine the conditions of the doors? I mean, he's obviously thought about this and didn't just say, oh, let's go out and spend a couple $1,000 and buy some new and different doors, and really see what the feasibility is in what the cost parameters are. And if the decision is to go to an overhead, is there an overhead that perhaps is of wood or something that would be more amenable to the commissioners?
Yes, I can certainly arrange a time with the applicant to meet on site. I would add that with replacement wood versus replacement steel doors, he did provide me figures that showed that it would be almost double in price to replace with wood overhead doors versus steel overhead doors.
Well, once it was done right, it would be a very, very long time before it had to be done again.
We're
That's
talking
if
about
you have to
replacement
replace,
with doors
yeah.
versus repairing.
And I agree, I
The
feel the same
existing.
way about repairing existing, that if it were done properly, it's easily, could last many, many years to come.
Well, many years ago, when people weren't even writing, they were carving things in stone with chisels. When I was in law school, our constitutional law professor said you can think great thoughts or look at the facts. So I would like to defer until Chris has had a chance, and I don't know, as long as it is, Frank, as long as we're not being, you know, having an open meeting, if there's a commissioner that wanted to look as well and really work with the applicant to see, is there a feasible solution that would keep the historicity and yet provide the utility that the applicant would like to have as he's joining us in town and starting his business.
If we defer, do we need to ask the applicant if he would prefer to wait and give us the time? Is that, what exactly are we asking to do tonight?
Well, we would presumably defer until the next meeting, the
Yeah.
September meeting.
Yeah, and then we need to ask the applicant's permission, correct? So that falls
Yeah,
within the guidelines.
because our clock is
Yeah,
running.
yeah.
So and ask for his concurrence, yes.
Yes.
We could ask the applicant to make the statement that, based on what he's seen us discuss, that he could propose that the application is not complete at this point in time. And that would allow us to readdress it next time.
Yes,
That's up to the applicant.
yeah.
But Mary Jo, what we're saying, sir, is our clock runs. So unless you say, look, I would have liked to have settled this matter tonight, but yeah, I'm willing to take the time to meet with Mr. Berger and another commissioner, so if you so desire, to see if we can sort this thing out, then we have to deny it, because if we don't deny it and the clock runs with no action on our part, it's automatically
I'm willing to
passed.
meet with Mr. Berger and whomever else.
Okay. Are there any other commissioners want to join Mr. Berger in that
Yeah.
venture? Okay, John would, and frankly, if I'm available, I would as well.
Okay.
But we recognize that as a request from you, sir? Okay, good.
Yes.
What I'd like you to do when you're out there is determine for the commission that these doors are not repairable. That's critical for me.
Okay.
I believe, based on the photos that I've seen, and from my experiences, that these doors need some work. Certainly evident on just some sanding and some fill and paint. Maybe they need more work inside, but they are wood, and parts can be replaced. They can be reinforced with metal, which I see has already been done. So can the doors function with work? That's my request to you. Can you determine that for us?
Sure.
Well, I feel strongly we need to qualify that, because anything is reparable. If someone were willing to lavish enough time and enough expense, it is unquestioned they could be repaired. I think there ought to be some notion of feasibility here, number one. And number two, if they are repaired, the applicant is not getting the advantage, and I think it was, Mark, you that pointed this out. You can't put a remote control in, and you can't have the garage door get up or down, who either the driver or a passenger, someone has to get out, open them up, bring the car in, and close them, and the same thing when coming out. And I'm imagining his wife coming out in the middle of the winter. So it's a non-trivial matter.
I believe that they could be modified to actually do exactly that. They would look exactly like they do, and then open in this way. I've read about it in other magazines.
Oh, my darling. I have, okay, well,
This I gotta say.
fortunately, the applicant in good faith with Chris and John and myself, and we'll really look. I think we have to, it's sort of in the category, Frank, I think, of benign neglect. I think there is a point where even if it could be done, if it would appear to be prohibitive, then I would ask the commission to reconsider how strongly they feel about it.
I would agree with that. That there is a point of economic feasibility. And obviously, you can put toothpaste back into the tube, but to what end?
Yeah.
But it also has to be, the evidence has to be presented in such a way that it appears as such. Right now, it's been
Yes.
presented in a way that
And
doesn't.
Dean,
agree with
I would
That's
ask
right.
if you can find anything along the lines of what you're referring to as a carriage door. So if it were come to a point where we were to consider something different than these doors, it would be something that would be much more aesthetically compatible. Because I didn't think these were real, again, assuming that the color would match the trim from the front of the house, so there'd really be congruity. If you're driving by, it looks of a piece. I didn't think they were that much off the mark.
Just type in carriage style doors. I mean, it's something that
Well, how
is modeled after the
Well,
1920s doors
Are
that we're
those,
now
are those
reviewing.
not? Aren't those similar to some of those in there?
No, not at all. That's, did you
Would
say
you, would
steel?
you put up the door
There's
proposed by the applicant?
steel or punch in a press to give the impression of being raised.
Could you put up the doors the applicant proposed, please, Chris?
They're on there.
They're up? Okay. Well, isn't that the second one from the left on the top? Aren't those the doors?
Well, these, if
No,
they're
no, the
done,
next one over.
if these are done properly, they're made out of wood, and they're actual panels and rails.
Okay, but.
That
you're-
is just oppressed. It's the type of thing that I don't believe a historic structure should have replacing historic details.
Okay, that's,
That's my
I'm
point.
trying to address a different issue. I was under the impression that a carriage door referred to a particular style of door. And it looks to me, when you pulled it up on the computer under carriage door, we have virtually what the applicant has proposed.
Well, then I'm not explaining it properly. Let me see if I can better explain. This is metal door
Yes,
put in a press to give the impression of raised panels.
Yes.
Okay, I find that to be 180 degrees different than actual wood doors with actual raised panels. I'll give you a great example, is the difference between real wood and Formica made to look like wood. There are similarities, but to me, there is much more value in the historicity of the original wood. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so now we're talking about the material of the product versus the style.
I don't think I can explain it
A carriage,
properly.
a carriage door, I think, is a particular aesthetic vernacular or
From the
conversation.
1920s, it was
Yeah.
actual.
And does that have a 1920-ish look? Is
No.
it the look of a carriage door?
No, that looks like a, I don't want to say things that would offend anybody, but it looks as if it is trying its best to replicate an old style, just like Formica wood is made to replicate real wood. I don't find that to be acceptable.
Okay,
I find
but-
that to,
But is that, if somebody were to look at that and not get into whether it's pressed metal or wood, does it have the style, the configuration, the fenestration, the hinging, the handles of a carriage door?
it's trying to look like a real carriage door, but falls short.
Okay, very good. All right, well, I think that's about as far as we're gonna get on that.
But I'm not the only one up here. Tell me if you agree or disagree with my thoughts, because the thing is, I'm 1 out of 6, right? 1 out of 5, so.
Well, I absolutely agree with you. I think that also it lacks definition. Wood always has more defined character. And although this isn't the face of the house, it is the face of the garage. And it is seen as clear from the picture from the road. 100 feet or 10 feet, it is prominently displayed, and it's part of a visual that the neighborhood is used to seeing. And so as a result, we would like it to be respectfully, if necessary, replaced or repaired because of that fine character that an actual wood door that's currently on has. Is that better?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. My sentiments exactly.
I would like to see if it could be repaired.
Yeah, well, that's, I think, where we are. So Chris, you'll talk with the applicant and propose a couple of convenient times, and John and I live very nearby, so we'll try and join you.
Okay.
And
In
we'll
case-
take it from here.
I'm
So is
sorry.
that acceptable to the commissioners?
Yes.
You should,
In case
probably
I
should
can't
by
get out there.
motion defer,
Yes.
if you could. I don't-
Yes. with the- with-
Sorry to interrupt.
But I think no, this is
Yeah.
why Frank is
Well, great.
Assistant City Council, and thank goodness he's here, because this is important. We are an official body of the city, acting in official capacity in things that impact an applicant, a city resident's ability to do things or not do things with financial implications. So it's absolutely critical that we do this in the correct manner. And, yes, Dean?
No, I just want to ask Chris something before you wrap it up. In your investigation, when you're out there, can you take close-up pictures of any wood that is not salvageable? Anything with dry rot?
Mhm.
I'd like to see pictures of. Also, I'd like to see a video of the door in operation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent, excellent, thank you.
Anything else?
Do we just need to make a motion?
To defer.
Well,
Be happy to try.
well, I think it's a finding with the applicant's consent, acquiescence, that the next step is an on-site investigation with Planner Berger and Commissioners Roddy and Kurtz, if we can join, and really to make those findings, the feasibility of repair, detailed documentation of the degree of rot,
Disrepair.
decay, deterioration, and even when looking at repair, don't simply look at repairing it so it operates the way it was originally installed. but would it be possible to cut and hinge and put in tracks and make
Make a lift.
what it would be?
So I move.
Before you move, can I ask a suggestion?
Yes.
To add at the beginning of your.
Would you like to do it?
No, please do, but I'm just suggesting, this is a suggestion.
Yeah.
To add the beginning of your move, to say based on the applicant's request. That's the only thing I ask. I think that
Or
is.
concurrence.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
All right, hold
Or
on.
perhaps it's concurrence.
With-
I don't know that the record would.
Yes, the applicant did not request this.
But
He acquiesced.
will
With
we,
the applicant's
Concurrence.
I'm not sure that we
accomplish
have
what he's
the
looking for.
authority to postpone unless the applicant requests.
No, we do.
The
Well,
concurrence would,
No, I guess you're right.
if the applicant agrees.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I can do
Okay.
that.
So I believe I move that HIST 7677-2017 be deferred to our next meeting in September with the applicant's concurrence.
Second.
And that prior to the next meeting, we need to
We'll be
explain
at that.
what's being done and what we're looking for,
Prior to next.
and how it will be
yeah.
documented.
Yeah.
Further
There will be
investigation
Further
would be fine.
investigation, further evidence for us to consider at the next meeting. And it will be working with Chris Berger, the city, and 2 of our board members.
At least 2 of our.
At
At
least,
least.
yes.
Good, yes, so we
The
have
chair
one.
confesses to be overwhelmed.
So we have a 1, I think we need
It's
2,
been approved.
and seconded.
It has been seconded.
Okay. Okay, we're good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposition? The ayes have it.
Good, thank you.
And just by way of advice, your rules specifically do allow on-site visits by the commission. I would advise, of course, not to engage in discussion of the public issue at that time. And then just to the next meeting, indicate, yes, I was there, present,
Right.
and, you know, certainly didn't encounter any discussion or otherwise that would inhibit my ability to participate and make a decision.
Right,
So,
right.
just by way of a reminder.
No, thank you. You know, this is important. What he's referring to the applicant and the member of the audience, if we get together outside this body and are conferring with one another, basically we're holding a meeting which is not in the open, and you don't have an opportunity, and that's considered what they call ex parte, without the presence of an affected party, you, and we're not allowed to do that, and we don't want to do that. All right, thank you very much for
All
your
right, thank you,
flexibility.
Commissioner.
You'll hear from
We're,
Chris, and
look forward to hearing from you.
we'll,
Thank you.
Thank you.
well, with glacier-like speed, let's move ahead to 92 Meem Avenue and solar paneling. And before we do any commissioners have any concerns regarding this?
I do not.
I
No.
guess I should disclose that this property is located in the historic the historic district I live in.
Right.
And we are neighbors.
Okay, do you think that will impair your
No,
eagle eye and
I am
don't know,
familiar with the
what
property.
wisdom? Okay, all right. Go ahead, Chris.
92 Meem Avenue is a one-story duplex that was constructed circa 1955 at the northwest corner of Chestnut Street and Meem Avenue. Here it is shown from Meem Avenue. It's the half of the duplex on the right side of the screen. The subject property is zoned R90, medium density residential, and is non-contributing to the Chestnut Meem Historic District. The HOP comes before the HDC in accordance with section 24-227A of the City Code. The applicant requests the HDC approve 18 solar panels on the south-facing roof along Meem Avenue. 12 panels will be mounted on the duplex itself, and 6 will be placed on top of its associated attached garage. The panels will be affixed to the roof and slightly elevated above it. Each panel will measure approximately 3 by 5 feet. The total coverage of the panels will be approximately 300 square feet. The applicant proposes placing the panels on the south-facing roof to maximize sun exposure. According to Vivint Solar's calculations, panels on the south-facing roof will produce 6,637 kilowatt hours per year and provide the duplex with 70% of its energy needs. This estimate is based on the home's current energy usage, which is 9,500 kilowatt hours per year. According to Vivint, panels on the north roof would produce 38% fewer kilowatt hours over a year than the same number of panels on the south roof. Here are representative examples of the proposed solar panels on different residences. The Chestnut Mean Historic District guidelines do not specifically address solar panels. The guidelines do note the following on page 17 under the materials section. The historic character of a property shall be retained and preserved. The removal of historic materials or alteration of features and spaces that characterize a property shall be avoided. The guidelines note the following on roofing on page 20. Original materials should be retained, matched, restored if possible. The size, shape, and texture of the original materials should be matched if possible. And Mr. Andrew Rennie of Vivint Solar is here if you have any questions. If you please come to the podium.
Good evening, Andy Rennie. I'm with Vivint Solar.
Thank you. You're welcome to say anything, and
Okay.
absolutely
No,
not required.
I have nothing to say. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, let's start with you on this one.
I have no questions about it.
I don't have any questions of this
None from me.
discussion.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. I have none either. So, is there any discussion?
I actually had a question, not for you, but
Okay.
for Frank. It was my understanding, and maybe I'm totally wrong on this, but it was my understanding that for things such as solar, and other sustainable features being added to a residence, that code dictated that even if there was a historical issue with it, that the code overrode the historical element to that. Am I incorrect in that?
Well, I wouldn't say incorrect, because I've had the same question raised in a couple of contexts and regarding this. And there is a state policy that is clear to encourage exactly this. But in terms of the limitation, the primary limitation is on essentially property transfers and property relationships, and by that I mean HOAs, condo associations, and other rules such as that. As far as a municipal ability in terms of the zoning code or a historic district, there is no prohibition in state law. There are specific sections that deal with it within state law, but those sections speak to, again, the private property connections and the property transfers, such as if you're dealing with deeds of restriction or, again, condo associations and HOAs.
Okay.
So, yes, there is a state policy, and that probably should be something that's certainly fair to weigh, but in terms of you're being restricted because you're overridden in some way, that wouldn't be the case.
Okay, I appreciate that.
No, thank you for the question.
Yeah. Well, and Frank, thank you for being here, really. It's nice to have a knowledgeable legal eagle at hand. Very well, so the chair is open to a motion.
I wanted to say a couple things
Yeah.
too.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I think
please.
we're still in discussion.
Yes, we are.
Chris, am I right to think that this is non-contributing?
It is
property?
non-contributing.
Okay, so this is where my mind is with this right now. It's non-contributing, which gives us a little bit more leeway. Where I'm uncomfortable is that it's on the front roof of the property. I would not feel uncomfortable if it were on the rear of the property. As you were coming over the train tracks, you can see the roof, you can see the solar panels, but again, this is the face of the house. And the way you see it from the street does change how you view the home when you see those solar panels right there. On the other hand, they can be removed. So how much weight do we want here? Do we want it visually to appear as it should, as everyone's used to seeing it, and move the panels to the back of the house so that it's easy to say, okay, well, that could work, and that's where I am with the kind of a tear.
If I understand correctly, the rear of the house is a northern orientation. And it is my opinion, having dealt in the industry for quite a while, that it would not be worth your while to mount them
Right.
facing north.
Facing north, but what about the idea that they still face south? Mount them on the rear, but still face south?
You mean raise them?
Wouldn't that make them visible from the street as
No.
Mary Jo is?
No, here's the picture right here. It would be down at this end, and it would get all the south light. The roof is shallow enough where it will not block south light.
Mr. Rennie, do you know if there are any trees behind that that would shield?
So there's trees behind the home. There's also, there has been a tree, and again, I can't see from the picture. There was one next to it, to the east side. I don't know if that's since been removed.
But north-facing trees won't have any effect on the south-facing
Right,
side.
the north-facing trees. The only thing I would say to that, to as far as raising then, that would be a separate, another company would have to do that. Obviously, Vivint would not. We certainly don't do those installations. That would be something that the homeowner would have to purchase themselves, to incur obviously a much greater cost to do that, to purchase them themselves, as opposed to, working with us on our program. But obviously, putting them on the back of the house really reduces the efficiency if they're not lifted up as discussed. But that would be a completely different project that actually Vivint would not even, that would completely disqualify the home proposing to put them on the front. As far as it goes with us, we would disqualify the home.
Mr. Rennie, let me ask you another question. Does your firm offer a product that would be mounted not as a large panel, but as individual shingles?
We do not. No, we do not. That is. I get questions about that all the time. Solar shingles, not something that's currently available in Maryland, even for firms that do in other states. They're not currently available in Maryland and probably won't be for at least 5 years, is
Okay.
my understanding.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have on the screen a view from Chestnut Street of the side of the house, and I can also show the rear of the house. So the rear north-facing roof is prominently visible from, this photo was taken from Chestnut Street. So either side of the house is prominently visible from Chestnut and Main Avenue.
Okay, John, anything else for you?
Nope.
Dean?
No, other than I have a big concern over the, I guess, the checkerboard nature of the panels. That's not my biggest concern. It's a big concern, though, where you are eliminating, at least on the diagram that you proposed, you're eliminating the two middle top ones. That, when I compare it to what it actually would look like in real life, which is the photos that you submitted, I think it's on page 8 of the, yes, and then go to the next one down. Yeah, these things to me just look so industrial. They just do not look like they belong in a historic setting. The only thing that's coming to aid in this is it's going on to a non-contributing resource, but I would have trouble allowing it anywhere and then not allowing it elsewhere. So those are my big concerns. Also, I know we had an opportunity to ask you questions, but two came to mind. I've always understood that solar panels, each one individually, generally just will light a light bulb. That's what I heard years ago, like 30 years ago. So I did do some research earlier today, and the information I'm coming up with is it's pretty much still the same. And when I compare the data that I saw versus what I thought what I believe the information you're supplying is that this is going to give 5.7 kilowatts of power. It sounds to me as if it is going to be lighting like 6 light bulbs or something. So is that true? How much power can you light with a single? And then what is your ROI, your return on investment? What is the payoff for the homeowner? Is it? I understand. I've always understood it originally 10 to 20 year payback, and my research a week ago said the same. So help me out on those two
Sure.
things.
So the solar panels themselves aren't obviously tied to, I shouldn't say obviously, excuse me. They're not tied to any certain appliance, any certain thing in the home. The panels themselves produce a certain amount of energy on a kilowatt hour basis. So the system that we propose for the home can produce 6,600 kilowatt hours of energy per year. The home as it stands now, the usage from the last year, they consumed about 9,500 kilowatt hours of energy. So
Right.
about 2/3 of their energy would come from solar. So it's the same, AC energy that the home uses now, except it's produced by the sun and the solar panels, as opposed to buying it from Pepco. So the actual again, as far as like light bulbs and things like that, it's the entire home, everything that uses electricity in the
Oh,
home.
no, I understand
Yeah,
that. I
okay.
understand. I'm just saying as a comparative basis.
Mhm.
The information I just read, like I said
Sure.
tonight, said a kilowatt hour, and you're proposing 5.7 kilowatt per hour.
So the system size, was it 5 point?
I thought I read 5.7.
Yeah, the system size is different from the system production. So
5.22. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
so that's the size of the system. That just refers to the wattage of the panels.
Right.
So each panel is 290 watts. So of the 18 panels, the total system size is 5.2 kilowatts. So
Right,
kilowatts is
right.
supposed to that's the
Right.
size of the system,
Right.
and then production kilowatt hours is a different figure.
Well, that's what I'm asking for. I
Yeah.
thought this was 5.2 kilowatt hours. It's not.
5.2 kilowatts. So that's just how many. That's just refers to the size of the system. So that just means that the 18 panels at 290 watts each is a 5.2 kilowatt system.
What would the kilowatt hour be then?
So it depends. So the calculations that we did gave us the 6,637
For the
kilowatt
year.
hours for the year,
Well, you
correct?
divide that by 365, doesn't that come to like 5.2
I don't know that math. Again, the per day production it just depends on obviously the time of year, the time of
I
what
think
day it
it's around
is, how much
200.
sun the panels are getting. It's an
Divide by
estimate.
365, I did it in my head, but isn't that about 200 kilowatt hours
I
per
wouldn't-
day?
I wouldn't think so.
Well, divide it. We can think great thoughts or use the calculator.
It's about 20.
20, okay, thank you. So I just want that, I just was curious about that.
Sure.
This is saying that a kilowatt hour would light a 40-watt light bulb for a full day.
Okay.
Or a 19-inch color television for 4 hours.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to understand how valuable this would be compared to what I consider perhaps a visual loss to the neighborhood. So that's part of it. Then my other question was, how long would the payoff be?
Yeah, so this is actually a program. So the owners, the Matats, actually have solar panels on their home in Gaithersburg now. This is their rental property where their daughter lives. They aren't purchasing the panels at all. It's a power purchase agreement. So as far as ROI, they're not making any investment. There's no investment that they're getting a return on. So that would be a question for if they were purchasing the panels, but they're not. They're not.
The government, then it's going to be a government subsidy?
So there is a 30% tax credit, which Vivint takes as far as the total installation. So we recoup that total system cost because we're investing our own money to install the panels.
And then you're selling them back the energy?
Yeah, so we're selling them the electricity at a reduced rate as opposed to buying it from Pepco. And that's the benefit to the homeowner. They get cheaper electricity that's produced off the roof. Yep.
Okay. thank
My
you.
understanding, Dean, was that if someone were to purchase it, the return on investment has come down between 4 and 7 years now.
That would be great. I read where it's 5 to 10 if you install it yourself as a homeowner, 10 to 20 if you hire somebody because of the labor costs. So, and that was from a solar manufacturer who's trying to sell the product.
All right, but is he saying they don't purchase it?
No, I
It's-
No,
understand. I'm just trying to get relative idea. I
Sure.
mean, if this thing was going to give, I'm exaggerating, the entire neighborhood free electricity, then I'm all for it, you know. But if it is, you know, closer to the light bulb scenario, I just have to weigh it in my mind now. Like I said, non-contributing resource to me is a big factor. If this was on a contributing resource, it would be a clear-cut case for me. I could never see agreeing to that. But I do want to address the checkerboard. Do you have any possibility to clean that up, like move the panels a little bit further down and fill that in? Because that's just not attractive. I mean, I don't want to say that your baby isn't the prettiest thing in the world, okay? That's a sad thing to say, right?
Mhm.
But it's only getting worse when you put them in pieces. It just looks so industrial to me. It just looks, even if it was a straight, flat thing, because when I saw this come before us, I was obviously looking for examples, and there was a house that has the whole thing, the whole roof covered nearby where I drive by, and at least it doesn't have the sawtoothing, even though it's still very unattractive. This adds to that. So is there any way at least to work around where you don't have that chimney? Obviously, it has to stay in place, but
Right.
move the panels away where you don't have the crenellations.
Yes, so we did discuss that. Obviously, we knew that it would have to come before here, so we went back to the measurements that we took when we did our evaluation, and it was determined that we could not add 2 more panels below the chimney. The only other thing that we could potentially do is maybe turn them in a different way so that we could have a straight line, but that would reduce the efficiency of the system and change the design pretty significantly.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, well, commissioners, I have no comments other than the sort of the missing tooth scenario here. I think it makes it look less industrial. If you were to have them fill in that square, I think it would go contra to what you were expressing a concern about before. But it's a non-contributing structure. It's environmentally sound, and I'm for approving it. So, commissioners, what is your pleasure?
I will move that we go with the staff recommended motion that the Historic District Commission, based on the exhibits submitted, applicant's testimony, and the staff report findings and recommendations, grant HIST-7679-2017 solar panels on the south roof, finding it to be in compliance with section 24-227.2 of the city code.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Abstain.
Nay.
Abstain. You're
I'm
abstaining?
gonna do an abstain too.
Okay, so we have 3 in favor and 2 abstentions.
Congratulations. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All righty, now we come to 105 Neem Avenue and handrails. Oh, any conflicts?
This,
None?
Okay.
excuse me, but this is the
I apologize, that's my mistake. It
wrong
should be
address.
31
Yeah,
Walker
31.
Avenue on the agenda.
Thank you, good catch.
31 Walker.
The subject property at 31 Walker Avenue is a 2.5-story colonial revival style building that was constructed circa 1911. It is zoned R90, medium density residential, and is contributing to the Brooks, Russell, and Walker Historic District. The Historic Area Work Permit comes before the HDC in accordance with section 24-227A of the City Code. The applicant requests the HDC approve the installation of a single handrail on the right side of the stairs at 5 different exterior locations. Number 1 is at the concrete stairs in the yard along Walker Avenue. Number 2, the porch stairs along Walker Avenue. Number 3, the concrete stairs along Russell Avenue. Number 4, the porch stairs along Russell Avenue. And number 5, the stairs at the rear porch. And here are photos of each of the locations. First, the concrete stairs and porch stairs along Walker Avenue. Next, the concrete stairs and porch stairs along Russell Avenue. And as you can see, there is an existing metal railing at the concrete stair. But unfortunately, this existing railing, where it's placed right now, does not meet building code requirements. And finally, the porch stair at the rear. The applicant proposes that the handrails at the 2 concrete staircases, going back to the map, numbers 1 and 3, be made of metal, and the handrails at the 3 porch locations be made of wood. That would be 2, 4, and 5.
Okay, would you go back to the other, walk us through that from the other?
Sure.
Okay, so is this wood or metal?
This would be metal here at the concrete stair, and then wood at the porch.
Okay,
This would be metal at the concrete stair and wood at the porch.
okay,
And this would be wood at the porch.
okay.
And the applicant has provided this example to show an example of handrails either with balusters or without. This is obviously without. And this is the examples he provided to show with the balusters. This is metal, and then the wood example. The Historic District Design Guidelines for the Brooks, Russell, and Walker Historic District apply. On page 31, under House Design Elements, they encourage design elements to be compatible with historical elements and to restore original features. Staff supports metal handrails with balusters and square metal posts at all 5 locations. This option conforms with the design guidelines because there is precedence for metal railing with balusters on the property, as evidenced by the existing iron railing located at the concrete stairs along Russell Avenue. Staff does not oppose the proposed metal or wood handrails without balusters. However, staff contends that these proposals will not blend as harmoniously with the existing design elements as would the metal handrails with balusters. Staff does not support wood railings with balusters. The balusters on the wraparound front and side porch feature a unique baluster pattern, and staff believes it would be difficult to match this. So we're not in favor of any wood balusters. The applicant, Mr. Jacob Osdom, is here if you have any questions, and I believe you've brought an example.
Good evening, everybody.
Okay.
I have an example here. If you allow me, I bring it here so we can see them.
Sure, sure. And then, Dean, we'll start at your end on this one, if that's okay.
Okay.
Can we get one chair and put it like on the chair?
We can put it in front here.
Chris, if you wouldn't mind, could you please put up the pictures that?
Yeah,
of
the applicant
current-
just sent me an email of pictures
Okay.
showing what he brought with the railing without baluster
Mhm.
that I am just now pulling up on the screen. So you can see here's one of them.
I'd actually
When you
like
say
to
baluster,
see a
Chris?
close-up of the porch's current, the railing that's currently on the porch. I'd like to see a close-up of that, please.
Let me see if I can zoom in.
Of course. This is the same exact
So
thing that
that's the
you're-
existing baluster along Walker Avenue.
Is there any way you could split those with the wood one that he had laying in the other example so we can get an idea how far off they are?
Okay.
I couldn't do it at home.
Yeah, no, I had the same thought.
Mhm.
So on the left would be what is existing on the
Yeah,
front
yeah.
porch along Walker Avenue. On the right is what the applicant proposes for the railing with baluster.
Okay, I'm a little unclear, so help me out. I see the sample in front of us. And I also saw where he's showing that in the photo, of where it's supposed to go. Is that going to get the picket balustrade? Or
What he
is that
pro-
going to be exactly like we see in the photo?
This is another choice.
3 different options. I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah.
Okay, so one option is to have the picket balustrade on
Correct.
each side.
Mhm.
Okay, all righty. And that would go for all, I think, 3 places that have?
3 locations at the porch, and
Right.
then it would be metal at the concrete stairs. So there would be 2
Right.
of those.
Okay, and then the metal, I saw the photo, it appeared to be like aluminum. Is it gonna be aluminum or is that wrought iron? That doesn't look like wrought iron.
That's not wrought iron. No.
Would you be willing to do wrought iron instead of aluminum for the metal rails?
It's going to be kind of difficult. I didn't check exactly how that is possible because those 2 areas are very short. How many steps is it? I don't remember. It's like about 3 or 4 steps.
And Chris, if you wouldn't mind, if you could show us a close-up of the railing too, that's on that one single railing
On the,
on the side yard, yeah.
okay.
Okay, and after that, I do want to go back to that earlier picture, because it looks like those on the back porch were just square.
Yes, that
Yes.
is correct, that the railings on the rear porch are different from, or the
Right, okay.
balusters on the rear porch are different
Right.
from the front porch.
And they look similar.
So, can I ask a question of the applicant? Have you, the
Thank you.
the wood piece pictured, was that as close as you could come?
It's not going to match. It doesn't match the existing balusters, if you're talking about balusters.
Okay, because
Now, the reason,
I've had to actually go to Home Depot and Barron's and all that, and they had a pretty good selection. So
that's a
you've
close.
looked around, that's as close, what you
That's-
have illustrated is as close as it comes.
as close as it
Okay,
comes.
all right, thank you.
The reason I suggested the simple, which I have the pictures, is
But I'm not
is-
talking about a pre-made.
that was not pre-made. I put that
Okay,
together.
gotcha, okay.
That I put
Answer-
together
answered
and
my
took
question.
pictures, so we
Gotcha.
see visually what it looks like.
Yes.
I think, the balusters, railing with the balusters will work, but I don't know if it will contribute to the static of the building, because you only have it on one side, and the balusters are not matching the other balusters. And this one, I think I took the pictures and sent them to this is simple. This is going to be painted white. Right now you have this color, but it's going to be painted white. It's not so prominent. It is practical, and it doesn't interfere with the ambience of a historic building. It is just because of the requirements. They never had railings, and this is because the city requires, for
Yeah.
safety purposes, to have
Yes.
these, and it's practical. So,
Well, my thoughts are, I feel strong about it, as I believe the rail should be over a post, just like the traditional architecture currently is, and what most traditional architecture of this era was. So I would tend to believe that it would need to come in on the sides a bit and then turn down, all with rail on posts, similar to what is on there now. And that would be consistent with all 3 of the places at the doors. And then for the metal rail, I have a big concern with the aluminum. It just does not look appropriate to me, particularly since the existing that's there now that has to come out because it doesn't meet code. The existing is wrought iron, so I feel strong about it being wrought iron as well. Those are my only thoughts.
John?
I don't believe that putting non-conforming balusters on the wooden rails is going to add anything at all.
Okay.
And what we have before us is something I find not unattractive, it's functional. It doesn't do violence to my taste at all.
Your aesthetics, okay. I got you.
But with regard to the metal, in this day and age, what you would get in the way of wrought iron, once painted, would look exactly the same, in my mind, as aluminum painted. So I'm not sure I agree with Commissioner Ventola with regard to the metal rails.
It's the detailing of that aluminum rail, if you can put that
Right.
up, that is, yeah, if you look at the pickets, the balustrade, the way they come and hit the rail itself, and the top of the railing is not wide, and it's not a rail over the baluster in the front. So that just doesn't appear to be at all looking like wrought iron to me.
This is,
even if
this
it's
is not
painted or
exactly
not.
what it would look like this I put together is going to be, it's going to have a leg going down, so that will not sit on the ground.
No, well, I
If you-
understand.
This is a sample of the balusters in here are spiral. I don't know if you can see or not, but they're spiral. Is not straight.
Well, I guess the thing with that is, yeah, a close-up helps. There appears to be a thin portion sticking at the top and at the bottom.
That's,
Is that going to be hidden in the final, or is that going to be part of the design? Because that just doesn't
That-
appear to be.
That's so they can bend. It can
That
bend.
is, yeah, exactly. That's because.
Will it be hidden?
No.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, they do
Because-
that so they can accommodate different.
Different angles.
Different angles of the stair.
Well, right,
And it's
but-
not hidden at all.
But couldn't it be, I mean, shouldn't it be with because the top rail is hollow and like an upside-down U, I guess, and so why wouldn't that get hidden?
I don't-
Obviously, it's not here.
It's not the way it's made.
Okay, well, that's,
Yeah.
I guess my point, it just does not look at all, it looks like aluminum rails, even if it was painted black with, regular semi-gloss paint, I tend to think it would always look so
I
different.
I was hoping to paint them white,
Or even
but,
white, I'm just
I
saying.
mean,
Yeah, I get it, I understand.
whatever you decide, I'll paint that color.
No, I mean, I.
No
I-
red, of
white-
course.
I think white is fine. You had white there exist originally.
Yes, yeah.
And we only say paint it black to help an aluminum rail tend to get closer in resemblance to wrought iron. If you had wrought iron and painted it white, it would still look like wrought iron.
Mary Jo?
Okay, so looked at this and looked at this several times, and I really feel strongly that the railings on the house, 2, 4, and 5 examples should be wood. And I don't have a problem with the balustrades being a little bit of a different design, and let me tell you why. Because the Secretary of Interior Standards says that new should differentiate from the old. And I think in this case, that's what we have. There'll be new railings that are similar and don't have to be exact, and shows that difference between what's original and what is not original, which the Secretary of Standards, says we should encourage. So I'm all right with that. As far as the examples for number 1 and number 3, the 2 street stairs, I have no problem with those being metal, but I agree with Dean that we would prefer to see something that's a little sturdier and maybe more stylistic, similar to that one remaining one that's there now. And that's what I have to say about that.
Dean?
I, for one, actually, I agree. I think we're on somewhat consensus so far about having the wood at the porch stair and the metal at the concrete stair, and I agree with that entirely. I find the rail that you have as an example here to be I guess the most appropriate in my mind, in the sense that it's as you were saying, it's simple, it's functional. There's nothing that ties it to anything that would, like, even if you were trying to match up with the balustrades of the porch, you have a height difference also. It's going to be simply because it's the rail at the porch is, what is it, 24, 30 inches at the most?
So 24 inches.
Yeah, so even if they matched up, they would appear different just in terms of the height difference between the two. So I'm in favor of the simplicity of what you're demonstrating here. As related to the concrete stair, I agree. Having installed the aluminum rails in my own yard, just on a backyard stair down to a porch, the feel of them, and especially because you're going to be right up against a public sidewalk here, there's no way that they can replicate the look of a wrought iron, in my opinion. So I would prefer those to be a wrought iron.
Okay. Would you go back to the back porch?
Sure.
Picture, please? Perfect. Okay, so like Mark says, I think we're all pretty much in agreement. I definitely favor the wood railings. And the first two locations, I think those balustrades are close enough.
Yeah.
And it also meets the differentiation standard. For this last stair, you're in high cotton, sir, because those are just plain old 1x1 styles. So for this one, I would recommend wood, but you can replicate those exactly.
Yeah.
That I can do, but that's,
Yeah.
I mean,
You don't have to, but I think it would be easier.
Yeah,
Because
that's
we
only
put in
two
a
steps.
zillion of those, and
Yeah,
they're just
I
one
could
by
do
ones.
that. Yeah, I could. This is only two steps.
You
so
do, it's the risers, there's 3 risers, so you are
three
required
three
to have there.
risers.
But I think it
two
would be less expensive, and I think it would look more compatible.
Mm-hmm.
Are you
um,
saying this with some balusters or?
Well, whatever you were gonna do, well, it's not down there to look at, but
No,
the,
he's proposing not to put balusters on that one.
Yeah, but I think, I agree with our chair that I would like to see it match.
yeah. No, I would
Have a top rail
go
and a bottom
with-
rail and balustrades.
Yeah, I would go
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
rail approach, and you can have a post
Yeah.
down at the bottom, but I don't think it would be that much more expensive, and I think it would
No.
really, particularly, that's an open facade with the drive coming in from that side, and I think it would really pick up the appearance of the house, and I don't think it would be more costly.
I want to understand exactly what you're saying. You're telling me that I can use this, but with balusters on this one? For the back one?
Go back to the wooden,
The
piece
one that
that's on the
pictures
ground
that-
with the no, go on back, keep going, there you go.
There.
I'm suggesting, you fabricated this.
Yes, these
Okay.
are,
And-
I
and-
just
and
put them
so,
together and I took a picture.
I'm saying fabricate something on that rear porch, but instead of using these, just use your 1x1s, and then it'll match exactly.
It's going to be only a couple of balusters, it's
Yeah.
not going to be too many.
Okay.
It's a very small handrail
Right.
because it's only 3 steps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. That's not an issue.
I'll be honest with you, I think that would be so much more attractive. And, you know,
For the back,
remember, I
yes.
used to be your neighbor at 104. That's gonna have a lot of visual impact, and I don't think it's gonna be more costly or difficult. So that would be my recommendation.
Only for the back.
Yeah, only for the back. The rest, I'm with most of the other commissioners, I think,
Okay.
in that these are close enough.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the cast iron versus aluminum, I think, I think you ought to give very serious consideration, if you can, to cast iron, and if not, then if for some reason aluminum is a vastly preferred choice that you want to auger for, then by all means, get a product, and I would suspect you have other choices, that would have a more solid, both appearance and actuality, because this does look really quite flimsy. And I don't
Well,
think it's
I
in
mean,
it's in
yeah, it's
character
only
with the house.
two steps,
and-
3 steps, yes, I understand. It's
Yeah.
aluminum is not the
But I'm-
strongest
but-
thing
but
out
I'm
there.
not- I'm- But as usual, I've reached new levels of non-communication. I'm on a downhill slope tonight. I'm not for the moment talking about aluminum versus, iron railing. What I'm saying is, if you, which I would prefer, and I would recommend that you do, and agree with the commission. However, if you were adamant about aluminum, at least get something that has more bulk and is more substantial, and as Commissioner Ventola points out, doesn't have these little fadeaways at the top and the bottom, so it should really have the solid appearance
Okay.
of that, and for safety's sake.
What does-
People are really, if they're coming up from the Russell Avenue facade particularly, and also from Walker, they really want something solid to grab onto, but I think, I've got a house under construction right now, which I was visiting this afternoon, and there are certain points when I know I have to make that investment to go with the upgrade, figuring it's gonna be a return on my investment. So that's my 2 cents.
Can I ask the commissioners whether you would agree to put PVC or plastic, white plastic? You probably have seen them. They're pretty sturdy railings.
Where?
You see them in new constructions,
Yeah, you mean
No,
where
no,
on the?
which of these 5 we're talking about are you suggesting?
We're talking about the 2 stairs next to the sidewalks. The others are wood. We're going to do
He's
wood,
asking to substitute the metal rails.
the metal
Oh.
with the that's another option which I didn't pursue because I thought the commission wanted metal because originally it was metal.
We do. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think PVC, I
we
think
do.
aluminum's closer to what we're trying to get than the
Right,
PVC.
right, it's going
I'm
in the
sorry?
other direction.
Aluminum is closer to what we're trying to get than to the PVC.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
mean,
my sense on that is that was more a historical accident than anything. I don't, it doesn't to me have such a glorious feel that honors that house at all. Well, I mean, the existing.
Options, yes. Okay. Well, I'll take that.
I mean, that's a heck of a house.
Thank you. Again, as I said last time, everybody is invited to sit inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how do we clean this up?
Yeah, how do we clean this up for a motion, is the thing.
Yes, thank goodness the chair doesn't make motions. So what is your pleasure, commissioners?
Do we want to divide it up between the wood and the metal, or?
Yeah. Well, that
That sounds good to me.
sounds good. So you
And are
want,
we
shall we
gonna
start with
make-
the wood?
Are we gonna make a condition about the metal, or, I guess what I'm asking Chris?
Yes.
We're gonna need you to work with the applicants to find an appropriate material for the sidewalk stairs.
Okay.
And design.
And
As well.
the condition should specify with or without balusters.
Okay.
If it is without balusters, it'll be very simple. Because 110 Russell Avenue has railings without balusters.
Sir,
Basically.
could you speak a little bit into the mic?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Thank you. No, that's my ears, not your speaking.
The 110, you're probably familiar with, Russell Avenue, has railings on the stairs that is next to the sidewalk. And that one is metal without balusters. is, if you will, is a upside down U, going up and coming down. If that is acceptable with the commission, I can do that easily, then we don't have to.
I'm not sure I followed it, but
I actually would be in favor of that, not having the balusters at the wrought iron stairs, just because of there's very few risers there. And,
I was thinking the same thing. The only thing I'm worried about is when you describe the handrail, you said it goes up and horizontal, or I'd say down at an angle and then down vertical. Are these curved pieces or are they separate pieces? Is it one
it could be
curved
curved.
piece?
I looked at several houses on Walker and also on Maryland, and they have these, including Roswell Avenue. They have basically it's a pipe.
Yes, that's what it is.
Basically, it's a pipe going up,
Yeah.
and then coming down vertically. So
I'm not against three-part rail without balusters. I'm not against that at all. I have my reservations of it being a curved, single
Pipe
pipe.
rail.
It just does not, whenever I see them, they almost look like plumbing pipe, like left over. So I'm not a big fan of that. But I have no
it would
concerns.
not. No, it would not be just a single pipe going.
Oh, it wouldn't?
It wouldn't. No, it would be
Okay.
three.
Three parts?
Three
So
parts.
two verticals with
Exactly,
rail on,
and
with
one.
rail on top? Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'm all for that.
I'm fine with that, yeah.
Yeah,
And
if
it's
we can
wrought-
do that,
Will that be wrought iron?
would be either wrought iron or very sturdy,
It would be
steel. Steel, if wrought iron, I can do a wrought iron, not a problem.
Okay, wrought iron. Okay,
Let's go for that.
all right.
well, I defer to two architects to
Yeah, I think
fabricate
you're right.
something here.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I could just simply say that regarding the rails that are out at the concrete steps, I move that we allow them to be metal, not allow, excuse me, that I move that we require them to be metal, wrought iron, and a three-part rail system being two vertical posts topped by a horizontal top rail without balusters.
Any preference on the color?
I don't think we're supposed to dictate color, but white is just fine.
White? Okay,
Sure.
good.
Okay.
I could
Do you
second
want to
that.
make the whole motion, Dean?
Well,
Why don't you-
isn't the second part with the wood on the house?
I mean, we could make it both two conditions of the same motion also, if we're,
Yeah.
Well, here's where I will back away, because I'm not in favor of the one at the main, I guess the main entry.
okay, well, let's do the metal then, and then we'll deal with the wood.
Well, doesn't it have to be one motion after all, Frank?
Yeah.
You're not necessarily limited to requiring it in a single motion. If you can act as you do, you should make sure to refer to the correct application number.
Yeah.
But
Well,
if
let's,
for some reason it needs to be split into multiple motions,
well, let's go real quick to see where we are with the wood. What are you in favor of?
I am in favor of balusters wherever the existing rail has balusters. I am also strongly in favor of rail on top of posts wherever the existing has rail on top of posts, which in both cases precludes me from voting for that single. But the other two sound like they are what we were believing, what I just relayed. So I could vote for those two. If we keep this one separately, I'll vote nay on it. If not, then I'll just abstain from all three.
So which is the one that you'd have to have separate? Is it the one that's pictured there?
One right there
We
in front of
don't
us.
even have to approve this one that way. Chris had suggested earlier that the rear porch have balusters that simply match the back porch balusters, which are simple
Square pickets.
and square pickets.
Okay, but
So-
what about the design of that? Would he then, you answer this, Chris, are you then proposing that keep that design, which I thought some people said was acceptable, but just add balusters to it. I'm not in favor of the proportions of that. So the posts are way too out of proportion for the rail on that house. It's just,
Oh, yeah, no, I'm
Oh, yeah.
not for that for anything.
okay, I thought you. and
Oh, no.
you were.
No, I think John and I were in favor of this, but I'm not that wedded to it. I could be persuaded.
Okay, well, I guess
Just
we
to
can
get to a
first say,
consensus.
just to start things one at a time, I think we're all in favor of them being wood.
Yes.
Right. Chris, will you go back to that one with the wood laying on the ground? So I may have, let me tell you what was in my mind, was not this at all. This is, to me, completely out of character, and I
To
don't
me as
even
well.
know that it would meet code or be safe. But that for the front and the side facade coming off the house, that the differentiation between the original balusters and this was not enough to cause any heartburn. But the plan would be that it would come down
Then I'm all
this,
for that.
this way. And it also, again, meets Mary Jo's notation that we want to differentiate in a way.
I'm fine with that,
And
too.
yet in the back, it would be just so easy and less expensive, because I guarantee you, those one-by-ones,
No, that's not
The
an
right
issue.
there.
That is not
Yeah.
an issue.
yeah.
That's-
But never did I have that in mind. It was always this configuration. Now, you might have an end piece that, you know,
Sure, like something
Yeah,
shorter and everything that you
you
can
know,
grab
that
onto, yeah.
has a flat piece on top, but nothing that elaborate. And nothing with those hooks and side rails, which is what you would expect going down into the laundry room.
Right,
Yeah,
then we are in
Yeah,
agreement.
oh, yeah.
okay. So if I confuse things,
No, I think
well,
we're-
that's always what I
I
have
am
in mind.
confused
Okay.
now. I am
You're having
confused.
way too much fun tonight. I'm gonna get in trouble.
I'm always having fun with the commission. If I may demonstrate here, right now, these posts have to be there,
Yeah,
because otherwise you won't have the sturdiness of the.
yeah.
Now, if we want to put balusters, we have to go from here to there, and
Yeah.
from here to there. and
Yeah,
put
but they
balusters.
are not gonna extend that height above wherever your rail is, are they?
They may, because if you, be kind of difficult to have, you're saying that the top rail.
Well,
would be at the-
if that product that's here, that thing that you fabricated,
Yeah.
if that top line replicates the top of that, okay, with these
This-
wooden
This has to
balustrades,
be there. Just
that is there, but does your post have to extend that far up above it? I think that's
Not
what we're saying.
necessarily, but remember, that you have to have continuity in the design. If we put railing here, well, for the lack of wording, a rail here and a rail at the bottom of the.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to have this.
Of
steel.
course, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, and I think what Commissioner Mentola is talking about is, that's the top rail, given. The question is, how far up above that
Post.
does your balustrade have to come? That would seem to be very out of
I mean,
proportion.
it's flexible. I can put the balusters from here down, from here down.
No,
I think,
I'm
no,
not,
your post only needs to be 36 inches high at the max, as opposed to what
I
that
think-
looks like,
Right,
about 40 inches out.
right now, this is 4 feet.
Yeah.
yeah,
But,
okay. That's all I'm talking about, is the distance from the top of the rail to the top of the
Yeah.
balustrade. Yeah, I wouldn't think you'd want it that
Has to be
high.
continuous
It
on the
would
top.
normally be much closer to the top
Right
of the
now,
rail.
this is.
Doesn't have to be
this is for
separate, but it has to be
demonstration.
continuous.
This
That's what I'm
height
saying.
can be reduced, that's not a
Like
problem. This is just
Yeah, it can be that.
for demonstration to show that the 32 or 34 inches from.
Okay.
This
Depending
is
on
the
the
right
distance.
height.
Indeed.
To the grade,
do
you
the
have
right
the
height.
36 inch.
I either have to cut this,
It's only a couple
or
steps.
just bring it like this, because portion of this goes into the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Boy,
I
I've reached new
thought-
depths in communication.
I thought if I bring this, I show it to you
Yeah, I understand.
simply
I-
with the pictures that I have taken, sent you an email, if you
Right.
can please
All right.
do the pictures of. And
All right.
again, it is simple, don't need any different type of balusters. If you can put, I physically took these.
What did you have there just a minute ago? Back up for a sec. Yeah, go to that. Now, can you zoom out? No, go back to where you were. Can you zoom out on, no, the other one, the one on the left?
That's it.
Can you zoom out on that?
Yeah.
Is that's as far as you can zoom out?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
How about
Okay. I was just trying to get to an end point there. All I am, and I need help here, guys. I know what I'm trying to say, and
Yeah, I think
I'm
I
not
do
able to
too.
convey it.
I guess what we have a problem with is we don't have a finalized idea of how the handrail is going to be mounted. Is it going to start with a post like this? Is it going to end with a post like this? Is it going to lay on top of the balustrades and
It can.
simply end? So when you go up the stairs and you grab a hold of it, is the end just going to be open, or is it gonna have a finishing post? We kind of need to know if we're approving a wooden, and we have some
Yeah.
consistency here with all of us, but finished product, we don't have design that we.
May I say
All-
something?
All I am trying to say, and I think your railing will tie into the end of the post, I'm just concerned about the height of
The post.
the end post above the railing. Normally, it's quite close.
It's flexible, it's not an issue.
Okay.
If I make this shorter,
Yeah.
then it'd be kind of difficult with balusters.
There'll be different heights.
And then, Mr. Franz, if we
Yeah.
put the balusters need railing. And
Yeah.
the railing is more than 2.5 inches. The code said it cannot have more than 2.5 inches. So we need to have this.
But you can top it with the railing. That's sort of my
That's
point.
gonna look,
Because these
It's,
balustrades fit inside, the wood's already, you can buy the wood already made. That's shaped properly, and these guys fit right inside of it. So that's
Yes.
why I'm saying, are we gonna walk up to a porch with an open end, you just grab a hold of and go up? Or are these posts gonna be involved at all? We don't know.
Oh, yeah, you have to have posts at the end to anchor those things.
Well, yeah, but the rail can go on top of the post.
Exactly.
the building code requirement is that it has a graspable handrail.
Right,
So that's the key.
exactly.
Yeah,
Which they're all made, generally, if it's a handrail, they're all graspable.
exactly.
but you cannot put the balusters on that graspable hand.
Yeah, right underneath it, it's got like a hollowed out
Mhm.
area where they fit right in. Yeah.
Those
Yes.
those are bigger. Those are, I think,
Chris,
I wish I
can
had.
we approve this? We're not really knowing what the design is going to be.
If you provide enough conditions stating what you seek it to be, then yes.
Well, here's my thinking. For construction purposes, when that rail comes, when that wood rail comes down off the house, it's gotta end into a post.
Or on top of a post.
Yeah.
Or similar, or like that. Or-
Okay, I got it.
I
All right,
mean-
do you care, Dean?
I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, generally,
Well, if we put it on top of the post, then when we obviate this whole discussion.
Right.
So are you okay if the railing,
I'm not opposed to that.
okay, so let's.
I think we need to work with the building code regards to
Yeah.
whether a separate handrail needs to be required or not.
here's a good point. I have a picture up. Are you able to get it from my computer onto my computer? and Put
Perfect.
it on the screen?
Perfect, oh, that's perfect.
This
Dean.
shows the
Exactly.
rail ending in a post, just like the applicant is
Right,
interested in.
Yeah.
exactly.
This is traditional architecture, traditional
Yeah.
rail, and perfectly acceptable to me. I
Yes.
think this is the answer, if you, sir, think it's the answer.
And sir, because that looks, I think, very compatible.
I think one
Yeah,
thing that's,
that is workable, but just remember, they are using the column. I cannot use a column. I have to have a post separately.
We understand that. Which
So-
No worries. All we're talking about
You
is,
just duplicate
is
what's
at
at
the
the bottom at the
bottom of
top.
the stairs,
Yeah.
we wanted to have that look.
Yeah.
Bottom of the stairs, you would not have that look because the railing ends at the column. If you bring the picture that I have a round column.
We understand
So
that.
I have to have a post separate from
At
the
the
column.
top of the stairs,
At
that's
the
right.
top
But
of
at
the
the
stairs.
bottom, at the
Yeah.
bottom of the stairs.
At the bottom of the stairs, another post.
Right,
At
and
the
at the
top
top
of the
of the
stairs,
stairs is
another
the post.
post.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I can have this.
Yes.
Yes.
At
I
the
don't
bottom
know
would-
if, I don't
would-
know if this is up to code because I don't know what the.
Yeah, but assuming
with-
it's code, I'm trying to focus on at the bottom of the stairs,
Bottom.
that your end post is very close to.
I
the-
understand. Yeah, that is simple. That is,
Perfect. Okay.
that
The one
is
caveat-
the easiest.
not a caveat, but the one thing that I think we need to be aware of is, here in this example, the height of the porch rail matches the height of the railing.
Exactly.
They're not gonna match up
Yeah.
in 31 Walker.
It's 36 inches though is the code, right? Because it's residential.
Yeah.
And you're saying-
34 to 38.
Thank you very much. And so 34.
So it can match.
Oh, no,
Well,
they're
but
24 inches.
They're 24 on the other ones. So it will look different
Mhm.
height-wise, but it is going to be married ever so close otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
think
just,
that's
I'm
great.
okay with that, just want to bring that up.
I think that's a great point, by the way.
So it's 28 to 36, Chris?
34 to 38.
34 to 38.
For handrail height.
Okay,
The
yeah,
porch height is 24.
What about
So it
guardrail
will
height?
look high.
yeah.
That I don't know.
Check
Guardrail is
that.
typically for residential 36.
That's my point. So if we want the handrail and the guardrail to be the same, it has to be 36.
But the guardrail is, the guardrail on the porch is already, is not
But,
compliant, but
they're
it's already there.
allowed to be non-compliant for existing conditions, is
Right.
the new thing.
Right, I'm just saying
Um,
that we can't match it up.
We can't match it up no matter what we do, I get that, I understand that. But nevertheless, if we set and this should go through permit office and let them make all the final decisions, obviously. But I'm believing that the
Right.
handrail and the guardrail can be one and the same as far as the top
Mhm.
rail.
Two.
Set it at top at 36
That's right.
inches, it meets requirements for both.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you don't need a separate handrail at a
Exactly.
lower level, so that'll save you some money.
I own a historic house in Washington Grove, and in order to match the existing historic railing, we had to bring the grate up on the outside of the house,
Mhm.
which we did, because otherwise it would have looked crazy.
Okay, so I think we're in agreement.
Yes.
Wonderful.
All right, you two architects,
Well, I
make
get
it
the first one,
happen.
you get the second?
Yeah. go ahead.
Come on, go to work.
I'll do the, start from the top
All
here.
right,
Yes.
what a guy.
I move that the Historic District Commission, based on the exhibits submitted, the applicant's testimony, and the staff report findings and recommendations, grant HIST-7680-2017 handrails at exterior stairs, finding it to be in compliance with 24-227.2 of the city code with the following conditions. One, at the concrete stairs along the walks, the railing be a three-part wrought iron or appropriately similar to wrought iron rail with no balustrades. And at the locations, I believe there's 3 locations at the porch, 2, 4, and 5. The railing be a wood railing with balustrades similar to the corresponding porch related to that stair rail.
You're saying in this photo, we should claim this photo as an exhibit?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm saying one saying 2 different things. I'm saying for this because we have 2 different porch railing conditions.
Okay.
For the rear porch where you have the 1x1s, I want the balustrades to match the 1x1s.
Okay.
For the other 2 locations where you have the spindles, have the balustrades be similar to the spindles. and the end condition and top condition of the posts serve as, how do I?
As illustrated.
Yeah, I guess
And
illustrated.
Chris, you can add this picture in as an exhibit.
Right.
Can you
Yeah.
email it to me?
I don't know how.
Just leave it on your screen.
I think, yeah, let's do it by the photo, it'd be the easiest way to,
Absolutely, let's call it exhibit, whatever, you already have exhibits 1 through whatever, and just maybe say this is exhibit A, so it won't be confused with
Yeah.
the applicant's exhibits.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
As discussed by the commissioners.
It should be labeled as Exhibit 8.
8.
You're the boss.
Excellent.
All right, thank you all. Have we a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. Good work.
Excellent.
Enjoy
All
your
right.
meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you very
again.
much.
Great job. The house is looking better and better.
Thank you. It's
Okay.
ready.
All right, now we have a preliminary consultation at 311 Kent Square Road, the Arts Barn roof replacement. Thank you very much. Do you need a hand with that, or you got it? All right.
Thank you.
Boy, this is old school. Put that woman to work.
Not too bad.
Staff is considering replacement of the roof at the Arts Barn and seeks HDC direction before it returns to the HDC ultimately with the Historic Area Work Permit application. The roof, as you can currently see in this photo, is wood shake with wood fishtail shakes in the gable ends. These materials were installed in about 2000 when the building was rehabilitated into its current use. 2 roof studies were conducted by the Department of Public Works, and they concluded that the roof system is in poor condition due to its age and should be replaced based on deteriorating, warping, and missing shingles throughout the roof structure and the gable ends. Public Works staff, their recommendation is to replace the cedar shake roof with EcoStar Aspen Blend shingles, and that is what we have on display on over there, and I will pass around the color that they are proposing. It's Seneca Shake Driftwood. It's the third one. These composite shingles have the appearance of wood shakes and a life expectancy of 50 years with little to no maintenance. The Public Works also recommends replacing the fish scale shingles with cedar shiplap to closely resemble the asbestos shingles used in an early period, which I will show you shortly. Other options were also considered. A composition roof was considered, which would match the roof that was there on the Arts Barn up until the current cedar shake roof was installed, and a metal crimp roof, which it was originally when it was built circa 1900. I'll go through those photos now. Unfortunately, we don't have a better scan of this, but this photo is about 1920. We're almost positive that the roof was a metal roof at the time. It was a barn, so that would make sense for its agricultural use. We're pretty sure that there were some kind of fishtail or shingles in the gable ends, and as you can see, there was a different pattern in there there is now. This was a view, I believe, from the 90s, right before it was rehabbed, and at this point they had asbestos shingles on the roof.
Yep.
And in the gable ends, it appears to be a shiplap siding of some sort. And here it is now. As you can see, we put in fishtail shingles and the cedar shakes on the roof. Here's different views of the gable ends. The one-story bump outs on the side, they are metal roofs. Here's a better view of those bump outs. Here's some information provided by Public Works showing the damage of the shingles. And here's what they propose to install from EcoStar.
Chris, do we have any comparison of the cost of a standing seam metal to what you're proposing with the EcoStar?
If I don't have it off the top of my head. If I recall correctly, that these EcoStar shingles were a little bit more expensive, but I think Public Works favors them based on the 50-year lifespan that they're given. Also, a concern with the metal roof was that it may require sound dampening above the Arts Barn stage if a metal roof was to be installed. So that's why Public Works was not in favor of that option. And here is, on the screen, is a representative example of the shiplap that would go into the gable ends. And these are photos of residences that have the EcoStar shingles. And there's a closer view.
I'm kind of nonplussed by your answer, though. It seems to me that the metal would last longer. I have some of my house standing seam that's a mere 137 years old.
Yeah.
I agree that metal roof does have a long lifespan. I believe it's comparable to this composite material, at least 50 years.
I love the idea that that's more expensive than the metal. Love it. If you can put up two photos for me. One is the art barn with the house in the distance. Well, that's close enough, I guess.
Right back here, yeah.
This-
Yep,
That's
yep.
the firehouse back there.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
firehouse. Yeah, there's another photo that shows, let's see, it's actually after that one, the next one. That's it, okay. To me, when I look at that photo, the only thing missing in this photo to make this, architecturally just perfect is the roofs should match. And I mean, this roof should match the house roof. In color. This it would look so much like a historic village like it once was. I think that would be stunning. Now, I'm not against cedar shake, of course, I love it. But if I had my choice architecturally between these two, to me, it's clear-cut decision. Have that be the same color and material as the nearby roof of one of our best customers, obviously, right? And that's just beautiful. The other thing is that I am initially impressed with the sample that you presented, other than I think the shakes are going in the wrong direction for some reason. But when I look at the photos of it in reality, I'm looking at the photo of Echo Stars. It says Tradition Reinvented, and that looks okay. It looks not as good as this sample. It looks okay. Starts to look a little bit cardboard-like. And then when I see it, and that's just a marketing brochure. Then when I see it on the actual house, which is enclosure 7, I think it's noted as, that to me, and the next picture as well, to me looks like asphalt shingles. So I'm not sold on the products so far. And if I had my choice between the three materials, standing seam to match the color of the neighboring house, or replace the cedar shake, or go with this Echo Star, to me, it's a clear-cut winner exponentially. Those are my thoughts.
My turn. I actually live in the neighborhood of where this, the picture that's on the screens right now, or not, I guess not on the TV screens, but on our screens, is, and I concur with Dean in real life as it is in the picture. It looks nothing in my mind like cedar shakes.
So the beauty of Madison Avenue striking. Okay.
So I concur that in my mind we should either go with the cedar shake, or we should go back to the original standing seam metal roof, understanding that there are issues with sound dampening that would have to be in place with the metal. But I think if we're truly looking to bring back the history of this structure, I mean, we have evidence to what the history was.
Yes.
Well put.
And this is our chance now that the roof needs to be replaced, to do it justice and respect it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
As, Robert, this is a courtesy review, and so your thoughts welcomed.
Remember how I can talk. I agree with pretty much everybody here. I would like it to match. I think it would be nice for it to match everything within the, what was that other structure? That was the firehouse, right?
The firehouse, the
Yeah.
DPZ office, and the Kentlands Community Association office
Yeah.
all have metal roofs. The Kentlands mansion matches the Art Smart roof. It has the cedar shake, but apparently that roof is in much better condition.
Yeah, I would much rather match that. It really doesn't look that good to me. I mean, when I see it on the house, it doesn't look put together. I think that's the whole point of this whole area, that whole area, is to kind of make it look like you're going into a part of history and have it all, connect in some way. So I would be in favor, and like I said, if that thing's gonna last, like John said, for
37.
He said only 137.
only 137 years, well, then I think we should take the advantage of, making it all match to the entire area.
I have nothing to add. So Chris, will you?
Yeah, I'll
could you
deliver
put
these
something
comments.
together
Yeah.
to give the Art Barn folk or the city the sense of it is we're really, if you're gonna do it, please take a very, very hard look at going back to the standing seam with a green or greenish that matches the firehouse.
I will deliver those comments to Public Works.
It also seems like in the gable end, you're not going to replicate the fishtail.
It doesn't seem to be within the budget to be able to do that.
That's too bad.
Well, what money we save by not having an eco.
That's
sign.
true.
Yeah.
There is a savings.
Yeah, there
I
you
love
go.
it. I love it.
Yeah, it's like recycling the doors, hey, wait a minute, the
We're
money
done.
we saved from,
It was a windfall.
yeah. All righty, anything else on that before we move to staff updates? All right, staff updates.
I have nothing.
We do have the open meetings training for the evening of September 12th.
Yes, sir.
and that is being set up from 7 to 9, and we'll see anybody who can attend.
What,
and if
you gonna be in this room or upstairs?
No, actually, it's going to be at the Casey Center, Activity
okay.
Center up there, just up Frederick Road a little bit.
The
Okay.
Casey Barnes.
That's because of the space that they needed.
Okay, and Casey Bar's on 355?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, right across.
Just
I'll
tell me
send
where
you
to
a
go. I've got it on the calendar, but I want to show up at the right place. But I'm on, and so